It takes a level of grit and skill that I don't even know how we were able to accomplish this with the skill levels that we had going into it.
It was 100% the hardest thing I've ever experienced in my life.
Nothing really prepares you for the nose.
I mean, leading up to that point, I've never done any big wall. I think the most pitches I've done was probably 8 or 9 pitches, and the nose being 31 pitches. It's kind of a big undertaking for sure.
So I started climbing about 5 years ago. I actually started right here in this room, which is a little nostalgic. Nathan was my climbing coach. Started training with him about 4 or 5 months ago.
You know, I've been climbing for about 9 years, so I'm pretty confident in my strength and mental fortitude. And you know, I think me and him are very similar. We do love to suffer a little bit, and we do like to push ourselves. I saw it in him when I'm training him. I'm like, bro, you gotta relax. Like, you're going too hard. But then I saw a part of me in him. So even leading up to that point, I just knew that I could trust him. I've been to Yosemite maybe 3 or 4 times leading up to this point.
You know, ever since being there as a kid, I remember my family looking up at the guys on the wall and going, look at those idiots sleeping on the ledges on the wall. And I was like, I want to do that someday. That looks cool.
You look at a big wall like the nose, and you're just like, wow, so many people have climbed this, can I climb it?
Set a goal this year specifically, this is the year we're gonna climb the nose. Tried it twice now, but the first one wasn't the nose, it was Zodiac. And we had to bail about halfway up. And that was 2 years ago. And then in May, I tried the nose with another climbing partner. And we didn't get very far at all. We got shut down on the 7th pitch.
So he was looking for a partner, and I looked at him.
He's like, bro, I'd love to do it with you. I was like, are you serious? You wanna do the nose with me?
I've only seen him in the gym. So it's to go out there with this person that you kind of know, and to test yourself on a wall like the nose. I kind of went in a little bit naive, I would say, a little bit, off the couch.
The reason why I wanted to do this documentary is because it has that legendary status of a climb, but there's no videos online of amateur climbers like myself, climbing the nose. I think it's something that people could really, in my position, in our position, hey, I want to actually achieve this monumental goal, to know what the hell you're getting yourself into.
So we plan to get there on a Monday and then climb the first 4 pitches to a place called Sickle Ledge.
Yeah, buddy. We going for it.
Nathan, leading pitch 1. Yeah, baby. Yeah.
I think we started at 10 or 11 and ended up going until 7 or 8 p.m.
Nathan's doing his first massive lower out. This is big wall climbing for you right there.
We hauled our bags up on a Tuesday evening.
We're doing this, motherfucker!
And then we were like, oh, it'll take a couple hours. It took us 6 hours. We were on the wall till 10 p.m.
First haul. Look at it.
And that was kind of a foreshadowing of the nights to come. I set my alarm for 5. I woke up at 3 a.m., didn't go back to sleep.
We were really nervous going into it. It's just all night tossing and turning.
This is real. We're about to do this. We're gonna be on the wall for three days, hopefully. And then we finally got on the wall at around 7:30 a.m.
There she is. El Cap in the morning.
That's it. The push starts now.
When we got back up to Sickle Ledge, which is where we had left all of our stuff and the haul bags and everything for the blast off, there's this huge lineup of 3 other climbing groups.
So we were stuck on the Sickle Ledge for about 3 hours before even moving once.
So it wasn't even until noon until we actually started on our first real pitch.
Looking down at Nathan on Sickle Ledge. We're sitting up here on the 6th pitch. Day 1 of blast off. Getting ready to cruise over to Stove Legs.
Stove Legs is a very famous 5/8 splitter crack. Like, pretty easy when it comes to crack climbing. By the time he got there, it was probably like 5 or 6. It was like 40-mile-per-hour winds, and it was cold. You're like 800 feet in the air, and you look behind you, and you're just like, dude, this is terrifying. My crack climbing experience was definitely like not great, so I didn't feel confident in like climbing with 40-mile-per-hour winds like blowing me side to side.
At that point, it's dark, it's cold. It's like 30 degrees at night. It's just another level of nerves when you finally get there.
And most people don't climb the Stove Legs, but I ended up doing it because I don't feel comfortable like climbing this right now. My ladders were flying everywhere. Like I couldn't, like everything was getting tangled. Like the winds were just brutal and not the most ideal situation for a beautiful climb like the Stove Legs.
What is it, 9 o'clock now? Getting cold as shit.
It's like the same thing for me. I'm like so excited to start climbing it, and I did like 4 or 5 moves, and I was like, this is really hard. And I, threw out my ladders and started aiding it. By the time I got done with the first leg of Stove Legs, it was probably midnight.
Nathan, your line is fixed!
And then Nathan had to leave like another really challenging pitch where you actually can't aid it. You have to do a bunch of free moves off the ground.
And I was like, yo, I'm tired. Like, I'm done. Like, can we like set up camp here?
But we were not in a situation where you can set up camp.
Can we just like wrap down and like set up down there because it's flatter? He's like, so if we wrap down, we're gonna have to quit.
Do you want to bail or do you want to keep going?
For like 10 minutes, I was just like looking around, like trying to decide, like, do I want to keep climbing? Do I want to quit?
It was my favorite part of the climb. He looks at me, he goes, my mama didn't raise a quitter.
And I started racking up. And then after I got through that first pitch, I just continued to go. And like 2 or 2.5 hours later, it was 2 a.m. I finally saw like the anchors, and I just was like, I was just like, saw the light essentially at the end of the tunnel. I was just like, oh my God, there it is.
Woo! We made it to a anchor.
And we actually got right below Dolt Tower and set up camp.
It was 4:30 a.m. But by the time our portal ledge was set up,
We were so tired.
and everyone always asks me, is like, how do you sleep on the portal ledge? And I'm like, bro, if you've been climbing for 14 hours and you're scared the whole time, you'll sleep anywhere. First time waking up, I was just like, wow, this is beautiful. Had breakfast, and we were kind of planning the day.
Let's just get to El Cap Tower. We'll get there by the afternoon, and let's just rest. The first pitch after Dolt Tower is a 5-7, 5-8 climb. So we're like, oh yeah, we're gonna bust through this in like 30 minutes, no big deal. Again, we were stuck behind a clog of people.
We had to wait for them to move so that we can move. And finally, once they started moving, I remember Brandon climbing up above and then traversing.
And you're traversing over like 100 feet. And so yeah, it's easy climbing, but when I finally get up to the next anchor, we're trying to lower the bags out and the bag gets stuck. On one end, the rope is stuck up in this crack so it won't lower out. On the other end, the rope, the lead line got stuck in a crack below him.
I had to rappel off my lead line, which I didn't know if there was enough rope to get to the rope. So I was really scared to rappel down and potentially like rappel off the end of my rope. Started rapping down, and then this is like 45-mile-per-hour winds at this point. I'd never had to do that where I had to rappel down to unstick a rope. I just figured it out on the fly. I was like, okay, this is probably what I have to do. Hopefully everything's gonna be fine, I won't die. And then I finally saw the rope, and I saw it was just wedged in like this chasm. So I had to like yard and yard. I was hanging upside down, like pulling on this rope. And once I got it unstuck, I was like, oh my God. And I looked up and I was just like, I have to jug back up this 70 feet.
So here we are thinking we're gonna knock this pitch out in an hour or less, and it took us 4.
2 more pitches to El Cap Tower. We can call it halfway. Let's go, baby. Let's go.
This will be our 3rd straight night of climbing in the dark.
So we probably got there around like 10. We were supposed to get there the first day, we didn't. So everything was like kind of like falling behind.
Made it to El Cap Tower.
Fuck yeah! 6 feet wide by like 20 feet long. There was water reserves up there for us, which we totally used and were grateful for. And we got to just lay out mats.
And we woke up that morning, we were like so happy. We were just like, oh my God, this is like a 5-star hotel compared to what we've been dealing with. Like we're walking around, we're having breakfast. That was our first time pooping on the wall, actually.
There's these bags that we got, they're called L craps.
And the moment has arrived. It's a first for everything.
Inside these little pouches is a like plastic dog bag that you hold over your ass.
Yeah, you can poop right there.
Poop.
I was gonna poop right there.
You take the bag and you wrap it up and you throw like the little scent things in there and put it at the end of your haul bags. It's kind of funny because all the people in the parking lot have their binoculars on and the telescopes, and you're just like, whoop.
We are feeling so much better, rejuvenated, comfortable.
El Cap Tower, halfway there. Only way is up at this point.
I lead the first pitch off of El Cap Tower, which goes into the Texas Flake. Texas Flake is a squeeze. It's like picture a door frame, and you have to find your way to just like shimmy your way up a door frame. And it's about 50 feet high, and there's 1 bolt. And it spreads open as you climb it.
You're just like in this funky, weird like wall, like chimney kind of weird thing, but it's like not tight enough where you can just like keep pushing. You have to like really like figure out a way to do it.
When I first get in Texas Flake, you know, I'm moving all right because it's a little bit of a squeeze, and I get up to the first bolt, and then it kind of opens up quite a bit more.
He had took too much gear, and he didn't put his climbing shoes on. He thought he was gonna A climb it, and this is something that you can't A climb.
And as I'm trying to get past that bolt, I can't do it. I'm sliding. I'm like pushing against the wall and my feet are just sliding. And there's like skid marks from everybody else's shoes skidding on the same part of the wall. Meanwhile, this NIAD team, which NIAD stands for Nose in a Day, they're doing a wine only nose in a day. So they're getting drunk while they're climbing the nose. And this fucker just comes cruising by me and is with his wine, and he's like, hey, you want some wine, bro? And he's just shimmying his way right up the wall. He's just like climbing. I'm like, fuck you.
He ended up having to take off all his gear because there's 1 bolt and you can't place any gear. So there was no point in taking 40 pounds of gear on him. So he actually left it at the bolt for me to clean.
And that next 20 feet or so to get to the top of Texas Flake was probably the most exhausted I've ever been in my life.
They don't teach you off-width in the gym climbing, or anywhere for that matter. And then, that's what I just did.
People need to know there's like hard parts of this climb that you don't even plan to be one of the challenging parts, and that is actually the area that almost shut me down. So after getting on top of Texas Flake, Nathan kicks ass and gets right up the boot flake in no time.
And when I climbed the boot, he essentially has a follow up to the boot. Then he has a lower out about like maybe 50 feet.
I have been nervous about this since we committed to El Cap a long time ago. Okay, we're good.
All right, dude. My boy Brandon about to do the king swing, baby. Let's go.
Woo!
Yeah. All the way right. All the way right. Come on.
He has to swing his whole body and maybe a distance of like 70 feet and basically grab onto this corner.
Ah! Fuck, I'm right there.
Swing back, come on. You're there, that's a lot better, come on. Go get it. Keep going. That's it, come on.
You can hear people in the valley screaming and cheering on for us.
The king swing was just, it's phenomenal. But then you get it and you have to do kind of like this V3 move in order to get back into the crack. That was pretty challenging. And fortunately, the climbers that were ahead of us looked down at me and gave me the beta.
Wrap your left leg around it.
Around the crack. Thank you. Fuck, I might be too low now. Shit. Take. All right, take.
When I finally get to the top of the king swing, I let out this scream.
Woo! Woo!
One of the scary parts after the king swing is then you have to lead that entire next pitch totally unprotected. So if you fall, you're not only doing the king swing all over again, you're also taking the fall and the swoop and everything along with it. And so I was really slow.
Just finished the king swing and the scariest fucking lead all the way up to the top of Eagle Tower. And now I'm looking at the most beautiful sunset I may have ever seen.
Then it was getting dark and Nathan, just like a badass, jumps on the Lynn Hill Traverse.
So if you look to the left, there's 5 bolts. And on the map, it looks like the bolts are like really close together. They're not. They're like 15, 20 feet apart. I essentially like had the free climb like 512 minus maybe V3, V4 moves on like really bad holds. I actually like felt like really comfortable in a weird way because face climbing and like holds is what I normally do. And then like crack climbing is what I don't normally do. So to me, I was just like, holy crap, like this is hard, but it was fun.
Like it was dark. He's swinging across the bolts, and yeah, he led the V12 Lynn Hill Traverse and got us to a good camp spot after that. Another 1 o'clock or so by the time we finally set up camp.
On that 4th day, we woke up and we were like, okay, we only have 1 more breakfast and 1 more dinner. Our plan that day was to climb the Great Roof. That was the next big money pitch, and to maybe finish that day.
After you get through the Great Roof, you're at the point of no return, meaning it's really hard to bail from there. And that started to freak me out a little bit.
I had led this cool like 5-9 pitch, which was fun. It was my first time like trad like lead climbing that led us under the Great Roof.
Enjoyable first part of the morning. We probably got there about noon.
At this point, like in my mind, I'm like, we're gonna get to the top. Like it's fine. Like we're cruising.
As I was waiting for Nathan to come up, I looked down. At this point, you're about 2,000 feet up, and you can just see the nose just coming right down. And I started to have a little bit of a panic attack, especially knowing that we were probably gonna run out of food. We might run out of water, and we're gonna spend an extra 2 days on the wall. And so the nerves really hit me hard.
All right, my boy Brandon's about to lead that Great Roof, baby. Oh my God, that looks so epic.
I stopped looking down, tried to compose myself, and just get into the zone of like, no, we're gonna do this. You know, I let the mind and all the anxiousness go, and just flew through the Great Roof.
Brandon's leading the Great Roof right now. Oh my God.
I remember him saying like, it's like, oh man, I feel like I belong here finally. And he like found his flow. And by the time he finished it, the sun was setting.
My boy over there just sent the Great Roof. Yeah, buddy, I'm cleaning it. Look at this, dude.
And I was like, bro, like, impressive lead. So it's 8 p.m. and I'm like, it's my turn to lead. And this climb called the Pancake Flake. But at that point, I was pissed off. I was like, dude, I hate aid climbing. Like, it's slow and just miserable. Like, I want to climb. And I just ended up like kind of feeling possessed, and I like ended up free climbing it. It's like 10 o'clock at night, free climbing like 200 feet in the air, pulling off cool moves, placing gear, clipping ropes. And I was like, oh my God, like rock climbing finally. I remember pulling up over the ledge, and then I look at this like 512A crack system, and I'm like, all right, Brandon, I'm going to switch to aid now. Because it's like, I can't climb 512 trad. Like, that's insane. It's really thin gear, cam hooks and 0.1, 0.2s, offset stuff. So I remember 40 feet up, and my last piece of gear was 20 feet below me. And then there was the ledge, and I had placed this 0.1. And then I stood on it, and I was like getting ready to place my next piece. And then I remember watching it just like pop. And I popped, and I was like, and then I looked at it, and it was still in there. And I'm being held by these two lobes, and two lobes are sticking out. And I was just like staring at it, and I was just like waiting for it to pop. And I was like, and I like grabbed my cam hook, and I shoved it in the crack right above it, and then like pulled in on it. And I was just like, looked at it, and I pulled it out, and I was just like, holy shit, like this literal like 0.1 piece kept me from like dying that day, or getting potentially seriously injured, because I would have took a 40-foot fall, and I probably would have hit that same ledge that that climber broke his ankles on. So I was just like, oh my God, dude, that was terrifying. Finally like got to the anchors. I was like, oh my God, thank God it's over. And you know, at this point it's 11:30 at night.
After getting to the great roof and then lowering out the bags and him following back up and then him leading the Pancake Flake, you're waiting like 3 hours. It's like a long time to just be sitting there on a hanging belay. So now I follow him back up the Pancake Flake, get up to the top of that, and it's time for me to lead. So we ate some food.
And I think Brandon's body kind of like got into like repair mode and like started shutting down, or he had like, I don't know, like when you eat food, you just have to digest.
And now I've got to lead this C1 Plus, which is one of the harder aid pitches on the entire nose.
He started like climbing it, and then he looked like sluggish and like tired, and then he like sounded weird. I just see him like just his feet sliding as he's going up. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, this motherfucker is like, this dude, like, he might pass out.
Nathan was like, Brandon, no, we're gonna camp right here. I'm like, no, Nathan, I'm gonna get through this.
And then he drops an alpine draw on me, and like I almost catch it, and like he drops this thing, and I'm like, what I'm like, Brandon, like, come down right now. And he's like, no, I'm fine. I'm like, all right, like, let's see it then. And I think that lit a fire in him, and he was just like, no, I'm fine. I'm like, good.
And it probably took me a good 15 minutes or so for like the food to get through my system and my blood sugar to come back up, or to get the adrenaline going again. I don't know what it was, but it was about 15 minutes where I was just a freaking doofus.
He starts finding a flow, and I think he like his blood sugar kind of got back to normal, and like he tops it out. It took him forever, but he tops it out.
And then I was like, hey, let's get to Camp 6 now. And Nathan comes jugging up after sitting there for like 2 hours waiting for me. He's like, no, we're camping here. At that point, it was like 1 a.m.
And I remember we were like, okay, well, tomorrow we only have like half a bagel and like some honey stingers and some trail mix for breakfast. And I think we only had like 1 liter each of water left on that night.
So I woke up pumped. I was like, we're getting out the wall today.
Fucking bagels.
Stale, gross bagels. But it's calories. Last day, Nathan's leading us up. We got 5 pitches to go and we're done.
Nathan leads the first pitch, does a good job, gets through it pretty quickly. I flew through the next pitch, and then we got to the changing corners pitch.
Changing corners is one of the famous lines there.
All right. Nathan's about ready to lead us up changing corners.
I ended up, looking at it, and I was like, I'm gonna free climb this. It was really windy. I'm like 2,600 feet free climbing, running out like this lie back, which was like, I felt cool, but also I was terrified.
Nice.
And then I got to the changing corners pitch where the first bolt is, and I look at the wall, and I'm like, bro, like 5'11", like this is bullshit. Like This is not 5'11".
You know, he crushed the free climbing part of that. He's such a good free climber. But then when he got on 8, it was slow.
It was like probably one of the hardest pitches that I had the 8 climb. It takes me forever, like 4 hours to finish this pitch.
We got to changing corners, it was like noon, and it was like getting dark by the time we were done with it. You know, it's our 5th straight night climbing into the dark.
Just another day, climbing on El Cap in the dark.
At this point, I have like maybe like, I want to say 10 ounces, 15 ounces of water left, and we have like 4 pitches to go.
My body and mind hit this like, this overtime like clutch mode of like, you need to do this to survive. I got up, led the next pitch, cruised it. 30 minutes I was done with a pretty hard pitch.
Nathan, almost at anchor. Get ready to haul and get moving.
12 hours without food, and like on a normal day that's fine, but when you're doing 6,000 calories worth of work, it's not. I jug up to him, and as I'm getting there, I'm like literally like fighting every urge of my body to like not pass out at this point.
You got this, homie. If you want, I'll lead the next pitch.
You're feeling it.
I'm feeling it, dude. I want to get us off the rock. I'll take us all the way home.
You're feeling it, please.
I feel fucking great.
And when he said that, I was just like I was like, please, like in my mind, I was like, I can't climb anymore.
If I had stopped and had another like 2-hour sit at a belay station, I would have lost it. So I actually am grateful for him for letting me kind of take over that last part of the climb and lead the rest of the pitches and haul and everything that I had to do, because I had to keep moving.
He then climbs and links the next 2 pitches to get us to pitch 30, and then I proceed to jug it, and it takes me like an hour, 2 hours to get up.
Nathan got up to me and just broke down, like complete physical and mental exhaustion. I just grabbed him and put him on my shoulder and just cried.
I don't think I've ever cried on a climb before, and that was like the first time I like legitimately like just like wept. Not even teared up. I was like ugly crying in his arms. At that point, I just like put everything in his court, and I was like, you gotta get us to the top.
And I'm like, dude, it's gonna be okay. The last pitch, which I'm like, oh, it's a bolt ladder. It's no big deal. It's an easy bolt ladder. Well, no, it's actually got some hard moves. But again, I'm in that like adrenaline mode, so I get to the top at midnight.
And I remember him yelling out, like screaming, like he got to the top, and then I was like, it was my turn to jug, but I was moving so slow. I was just like barely holding on by a thread at this point, and I think at one point he thought I was like passed out.
20 minutes goes by. Nathan! Nothing. It's now 12:30. Keep looking at my clock. It's 12:30. I'm like, Nathan! Nothing. I'm texting my partner, like, we might need a rescue, which would have been the worst thing ever to be like, to need a rescue on the last jug of the last pitch. Finally, at about 1, I get a response out of him. By the time Nathan got to the top, it was 2:30. But then you got to do this like little 5-5 scramble thing to get to this. It's not hard. You just kind of, but you've got like carrying bags up slab.
And I remember like climbing it, and I had all this gear on me, and I remember like the rope was getting stuck, and he like pulled a little bit, and I fell off balance, and I'm like, oh my God, and I yelled at him. I was like, Brandon, like don't pull the rope. And I just remember like sounding like, I probably sounded pissed. We were at the top, and I was like, for some reason I didn't feel anything. I just felt like I was done. And I was just like, so I'm going to bed.
We laid down our mats on solid ground for the first time. Slept really good that night.
We woke up that morning, and I hear voices. It's like, hey, like, wake up. We got friends over here. They got food. That's the 3 people that were ahead of us on Camp 5.
We had extra food and water, and it was just like, hell yeah.
They gave us coffee. I haven't had coffee in 5 days.
We got all these like Halloween candies and shit that they brought up to celebrate, because it was Halloween when we got to the top.
Thank you all. We did it. We topped out El Cap. Give me a hug, buddy.
Get over here, homie.
We were just like, bro, like we did it. Like we survived.
Some people do nose in a day, we did nose in a week.
We were at the top of the nose, baby, the tree.
Once we started to hike down, I realized like if I didn't have any of that food or any of that water, I probably would have not been able to make it off the mountain, because I didn't know that the freaking hike was like a 4-hour hike down with 80 pounds on your back.
I didn't actually feel the like sense of accomplishment that this was over until we hit ground.
Climbed it. That's like a coveted line that most climbers would dream of doing.
It feels amazing to have completed, but you better really, really want it.